IBESS, Water and Aquatic Food Production Part 6, will provide a case study on how shared freshwater resources could give rise to an international conflict. The subject of this case study is the Colorado River. The significant idea is the supplies of freshwater resources are inequitably available and unevenly distributed, which can lead to conflict and concerns over water security. Here is the first of two slides displaying the outline of the movies available in the Water Aquatic Food Production Unit. Use this outline to find the movie you need for review. This movie is focused here. Here is the second slide outlining the movies available in the Water Aquatic Food Production Unit. Use this outline to find the movie you need for review. Here is the IB syllabus statement that drives this movie start to finish. Discuss, with reference to a case study, how shared freshwater resources have given rise to international conflict. My study of the Colorado River will follow this outline. Storages of water can traverse political boundaries. Uneven water use on one side of the boundary can cause conflict. Water conflicts arise at the confluence of supply, demand, and varied users, for example, two countries. Each component has its separate influences. Spend some time with this slide. At the overlap of supply, demand, and users, there is high pressure on water availability. Management of water is required, and unequal sharing of freshwater resources can give rise to international conflict. The Colorado River is the fifth longest river in the United States. It rises in the mountains of Colorado and Wyoming and flows west-southwest towards Mexico. The river traverses mostly arid landscape on its way to the Gulf of Mexico and the Pacific Ocean. The Colorado River is 2,300 kilometers long, and its watershed includes 7 states, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and it includes Mexico. The river has a watershed of 640,000 square kilometers. 6 national parks lie in lands adjacent to the river. Water from the Colorado is withdrawn, serving the needs of people in Los Angeles and San Diego. In fact, the river supplies 30 to 40 million people with water. It irrigates 7% of the nation's cropland. Per year, it provides 120 million kilowatts of electricity. It has 29 dams along its length, and it's nearly dry in the last 100 miles as it enters Mexico, and this stimulates the international conflict. The river flows west-southwest out of the Rocky Mountains through 7 states before entering Mexico. The river has 29 dams across its entire length, with 2 indicated here. The Colorado River is often called the most controlled and litigated river in the world. The river traverses through arid landscape, forming canyons of red sandstone that are quite spectacular. The beauty of the landscape explains the presence of the 6 national parks that lie adjacent to the Colorado River. This is a photo I took at the confluence of the Green River on the left with the Colorado River on the right. The confluence of this tributary with the Colorado is in Utah, the state of Utah. In the arid landscape, you can see the power of water to stimulate photosynthesis along the fringe of the river. The river is huge and is well known for recreation, particularly whitewater sports. But remember that very little of this water reaches Mexico. The river has cut through the Colorado Plateau to create some of the most beautiful canyons in the world. The Colorado River drainage is an area that draws people for its beauty and recreational activities. The drainage area of the Colorado River is the 7th largest on the North American continent. People have historically been interested in its water. The river became part of the U.S. in 1846, but it was not well known at the time. In 1869, John Wesley Powell led an expedition to chart the river's course. And in 1890, the Grand Ditch was built, moving water from west to east across the Continental Divide, across the divide, to growing cities such as Denver on the east side of the Rocky Mountain Range. Historically, the flow rate on the Colorado River varied widely. Growing, thirsty populations wanted to control the river. Diversions of water, called ditches in Colorado, moved water out of the river to farmland for irrigation. In 1900, the All-American Canal moved water out of the Colorado River to the Imperial Valley in California. This was near the southern end of the Colorado River. By 1903, 100,000 acres were being irrigated in the Imperial Valley alone. Here's an image of the All-American Canal taking Colorado River water into the Imperial Valley of California. In 1922, the Colorado River Compact, a legal agreement, allocated absolute quantities of water to 7 U.S. states and Mexico based on an assumed flow of 19 million acre-feet per year. The upper basin got 7.5 million acre-feet. The lower basin got 7.5 million acre-feet, and Mexico was legally deeded 1.5 million acre-feet. The problem was that the assumed flow of 19 million acre-feet was a high value. Average flow rates have been less than 19 million acre-feet since 1922. In 1948, the upper basin states divided the water amenably, but the lower basin states went to court in 1952 to settle their differences over water use. California was granted the largest share of the lower basin states' allocation. The compact was signed in 1922, but as late as 1952, these lower basin states continued to use the flow rate of 19 million acre-feet as the standard. The total here is 7.5 million acre-feet, the exact allocation for the lower states that was set out in 1922. You can see that in 1997, California borrowed water from the allocations to other states, and in 1990, all the allocated water to the lower basin states was withdrawn. In 1935, the Hoover Dam was built, forming Lake Mead, the largest artificial lake, a reservoir, in the U.S. The dam was built with enough concrete to make a road from New York to San Francisco, 4 meters wide. And while the volume of water behind the dam seems huge, if the river ceased flowing, the water held in the reservoir would only last 3 to 4 years. And as a side note, dams dramatically alter the ecology of the river. The original river is no longer a cold river, but now instead a warm lake. Flow rates and temperature change alter the diversity of the river. The lake supports a very different community than the river did. Lake Mead, behind the Hoover Dam, took 6.5 years to fill up. It stretches 176 kilometers upstream. And in this image you can see that the lake is low. The high water mark is clearly seen in the rock. The lakes behind the dams along the Colorado River, while artificial, are strangely beautiful. But evaporative losses across a large surface area makes one wonder if dams enhance water supplies or reduce them. Historically, the flow rate of the Colorado River had varied widely, but after the building of the dam, the flow rate was quite uniform. Damming the river reduced flooding downstream. Here is the Glen Canyon Dam with the reservoir behind it nearly as full as it can be without overflowing its banks. The dam provides a uniform flow of water downstream and prevents flooding. In this graph, you can see the flow rate of the Colorado River in 5-year increments over time. And you can see the demand for water from the Colorado River. The demand for water has increased steadily, and in the last 20 years, demand seems to have exceeded the capacity of the river to supply water. The primary human activity requiring withdrawals of water from the Colorado River is agriculture. Growing crops in an arid landscape requires water. The Imperial Valley has great soils, historically deposited by Colorado River flooding. The Imperial Valley grows lettuce, cauliflower, broccoli, asparagus, onions, corns, and melons worth roughly $800 million per year in 2015. Here is a canal diverting water to farmland in the Imperial Valley. And cities also want water. This photo shows you a tunnel taking Colorado River water from west of the Continental Divide to east across the divide to the growing city of Denver. Phoenix, Arizona has grown using Colorado River water. Phoenix is located in the Mojave Desert. The dry climate of Phoenix has attracted many people. Communities in Phoenix have golf courses and ponds in a desert biome using Colorado River water. And dams on the Colorado River provide hydroelectricity. The Colorado River provides water for irrigation, water for recreation, provides water for growing cities, and provides hydroelectric power. But beyond the last of the 29 dams along the Colorado River, not much water enters Mexico. Mexico, by law, is to be guaranteed 1.5 million acre-feet per year. U.S. users extract so much water that rarely does the river reach the ocean. In 1922, the Colorado River Pact promised 6 to 8% of its flow to Mexico. This has generated an international conflict. And the last of the Colorado River seeps into the ground 20 miles south of the Morelos Dam in Mexico. So as we bring this movie to a close, I've just presented a case study of the Colorado River. Mexico is by law to receive between 6 and 8% of the river's flow, but receives almost nothing. This can give rise to international conflict. The flows along the Colorado vary from 6 million acre-feet per year to 27 million acre-feet per year. There was a legal pact in 1922 that divided up the river among 7 states and Mexico based on an assumed flow of 19 million acre-feet per year. 80% of the water is withdrawn. It's going to irrigation. Water is also extracted for municipal use, the cities. Downstream water is becoming saltier. Arizona has built a desal plant in 1974. The dams do provide hydroelectricity, but they change the ecology of the river, and no water reaches Mexico. The demand exceeds supply. Historical use, while intensive, has been less than available supply, but that changed at the turn of the 21st century. The future of available Colorado River water looks uncertain at best. In 1987, I took this photo looking down on Lake Powell, the lake behind the Glen Canyon Dam in Utah. You can see the level of the lake, and I've circled the bridge in the distance as a reference point because I returned in 2013 and took this photo. You can see the bridge as the point of reference. Hopefully the decline in the level of water behind the dam is striking. And that brings us to the end of IBESS Water and Aquatic Food Production Part 6. This has been a case study on the Colorado River, the most controlled and litigated river in the world.